Celebrating Mother's Day weekend with maternal money wisdom shared all throughout today's Get Ready for the Future show. Glad to have you with us, and we are glad to have Rachel Cruze on the line with us, a best-selling author, a speaker, the daughter of Dave Ramsey. Some of her publications include Love Your Life, Not Theirs, and The Contentment Journal. Good morning and happy Mother's Day, Rachel.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me on.
We are glad to have you along to talk about some motherly wisdom that you have for your kids that you may have received in your life. We talk about, we'll jump off here with parenting, just in general. You know, we've talked a lot about in this show about the money lessons shared, but sometimes that doesn't come that easily. You know, parenting's a rough job. It's hard. You're spending your life just getting through the day sometimes, and to be intentional about sharing money advice or money wisdom with your kids is hard. Why do you think that's such a struggle?
When I talk to a lot of parents, you know, a lot of people fall into the statistic that 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And so there's a lot of parents out there that are like, well, we're in credit card debt. We have car loans. We're still paying off our student loans. Like, we're living paycheck to paycheck. Who are we to teach our kids about money? Like, we're barely getting by ourselves. Like, I don't have the capacity to do it. And so I always encourage them, though, that you are their parents. Whether you've done it really well or whether you've done a horrible job, no one's perfect. But either way, you are responsible for teaching your kids how to handle money. If the school can come alongside you, if the church can come alongside you, other parts of their lives come alongside you to help them, that's great. But it is your responsibility, and you have the biggest influence. I mean, they are with you day in and day out. And I do encourage parents too that when you talk to your kids about money, it does not have to be like a money budget summit every summer and you spend 2 weeks diving into mutual funds for your 6-year-old. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. The best lessons that they are going to learn is the day in and the day out, the ebb and flow in life and how money interacts with your life. And it's the small lessons at the grocery store or the gas station or you're paying a bill. That's what makes an impact.
Rachel, what are some of the best ways to break down the walls of communication around money? I know I've raised 2 kids, and communication, especially with teenagers, gets to be really difficult. How do you get through that and really connect with them about the issue of money?
Sure. Well, I think a large part of them learning about money is them handling money themselves. So especially when you're talking about teenagers, let them handle their money. Open up a checking account. My parents did this with us, and it was brilliant, but they took the amount of money they would normally spend on us throughout the month, whether it's school fees, you know, if we were asked for money for clothes, whatever that amount was, and they said, okay, here's a set amount of money. Here's a checking account. We're going to put that amount of money in the first of every month, and you are in charge of handling that money. And if you run out and you need more money, guess what? You get a job. You go earn some money and make some. And yes, you are their parent. So you are watching them. You are walking with them, holding their hand at the beginning and showing them how it works. But you're allowing them to interact with money and understanding the mistakes. Let them fail. I bounced 3 checks the second month I ever had my account. So let them fail. Let them make mistakes. But walk with them because they are going to learn so many lessons. And the great thing about that is they're learning small, inexpensive lessons under your roof and your protection versus the first time they're ever handling their own money. They're 18 years old and they're out on their own, and they can make large, expensive mistakes at that point. And so letting them understand how it works. And I would tell parents too, don't be afraid to talk about your mistakes, right? No one is perfect in any area of life, including money. We have all made mistakes, and talk to your kids about that. Don't be fearful, and you make it age appropriate, of course, but especially when they're teenagers, you know, have those blunt conversations and talk about when you screwed up and you signed up for a credit card when you went to college and how you look back and regret that, and, you know, talk about that kind of thing, because I think kids, and especially teenagers, they appreciate the vulnerability and they appreciate the openness.
Rachel, let's talk for a moment to the moms out there who are the natural spenders in their marriage. You are a self-declared spender as well. Yes. So let's talk about why do we do that sometimes when we really know that we shouldn't?
Sure. Well, naturally, people are either spenders or savers. So it's just kind of part of your DNA and who you are. Some people, they kind of like more of the security and they like having the money and they naturally just tend to save. Where others, it's like, hey, it's going to be fine. I'm going to just spend it and enjoy some of my life. So I do tend to lean, more in that camp naturally. But I think you have to learn whether you're a spender or a saver. You have to have both in your life. And if you're married, the beautiful thing about marriage is that opposites attract. And so usually your spouse is going to be the opposite of you. And so we laugh all the time that, my husband, he's the one that lets me actually like live life because, he's the one that like enjoys saving and is motivated to save. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm not going to go broke because I'm married to Winston for sure. Right. And like, that's good. But I laugh and I'm like, but I give him a life and I let him enjoy things and I show him that. So you definitely need a balance of both because you can't be one extreme or the other. So moms out there that think that they can just go spend and it doesn't matter. It does matter. It affects. You have to be accountable. And that's why I love a budget. You're spending on purpose. And so if you have a set amount of money for the kids each month, which my husband and I do, we have 2 little girls and they each girl has a line item in our budget. So I have a certain amount of money for each one that I know, okay, if I have to go get them new shoes or if I want to sign them up for a sports class or whatever it is, it's there and it's budgeted. So the spending is controlled and it's intentional and you're not doing it in an unhealthy way that's just so spontaneous because that's when people end up making huge mistakes.
I'm glad you brought up the kids because obviously I've got 4 children, so obviously some of that spending is on yourself when you're dealing with that part of it, and then some of it is deciding whether you're going to deny your kids something that you feel like maybe they want, and that how is
Yes.
it? It's very hard to overcome that spending. How do you do that? You mentioned the budget. Are there any other tips you'd have?
Sure. I think no is a complete sentence.
I like that. Yes.
And kids they need to learn that. There's something in all of us parents that we want to give our kids a better life than we had, right? That's a typical saying. And I think the heart and the motivation of that is good. But when you give your kids everything and they don't hear no, they don't hear boundaries, what are they growing up with when it comes to money? They're growing up with the idea that there is no boundaries, there is no limits. And then those are the ones that I'm fearful of, that debt becomes a part of their life very, very quickly, and it's hard for them to say no to themselves. So it's good for them to learn boundaries and to understand the relationship between that or understand that money is not evil, but yet stuff is never going to fulfill you. And so the materialistic portion of our culture, it's rampant. I mean, it's everywhere. But I always say it's okay to have nice stuff. Just don't let your nice stuff have you. And it has you when you go into debt for it, and it has you when your identity is wrapped up in it. And so modeling that for your kids and setting that example is going to speak volumes. But telling your kids no, they're going to be okay. They'll be in counseling for other things in life. So just prepare.
Our guest on the Get Ready for the Future show is Rachel Cruze from Ramsey Solutions. And Rachel, let's broaden our discussion out a little bit. We focused on the kids a little bit, but if there's one thing that really haunts American families, it is money problems. Now let's talk a little bit about how those challenges can really play havoc in a marriage and how you can potentially overcome some of that.
Yes, it's a huge problem. Money fights and money problems is one of the leading causes of divorce in America today. So it's tearing families apart. And so I always encourage couples, you have got to be on the same page. You have got to do a budget together. You have to know where your money's going. You need goals for the future. And you're going to be opposite, right? So like you're not going to be the exact same clone, the cutout of each other. No, you're going to be different, but that's okay. You need to embrace your differences, but you both have to grow up and say, you know what, this is an issue and this is a problem for us. And so we have to face this together. How can we do this journey together? And getting both of you on board is so important. I mean, we could do a whole show on money and marriage. There's so much there. But man, even something as simple as budgeting together, because when you can agree on where your money's going, you agree on more than just money. You're agreeing on your goals in life. You're agreeing on your dreams and your fears. And having that unity within marriage is only going to trickle down for the betterment of your family and your kids. So getting on the same page is so crucial.
Rachel, with this being Mother's Day weekend, everybody probably on the planet almost knows who your dad is, but your mom takes very much a back seat as far as being visible in everything that the rest of the family is doing. So we all know what your dad's financial advice is because he gives it to the entire world. But what about your mom? What are some things that maybe your mom instilled in you in terms of financial advice growing up?
Yeah, I would say a lot of people don't realize it, but dad is actually the spender of their marriage. And my mom's the same. And so, yeah, my mom, I always say, I always learned how to shop, whether it was groceries, clothes, whatever it was, from her, because she still to this day buys majority of stuff on sale. Like, she shops sales. And I'm not kidding. Something as simple as that for me now as a mom with kids stuff, toys, like learning how to navigate a consignment sale, I am a master at because of my mom. And so those kind of practical tips, it just helps in the day-to-day when you're doing mom life. Like you guys mentioned earlier, you get so bogged down with the tactical of getting up, getting the kids ready, getting breakfast, getting them dressed, getting them out the door, they come home, doing homework, or cooking dinner, giving baths, you're going to bed. I mean, you get so bogged down, but it's those little life lessons, and moms are brilliant at that. When you're with your kids, those small life lessons. And my mom did that. Gosh, I mean, it feels like every day she did something like that.
Well, I love that your position of advice is coming so much from experience, and you do this every day as part of your career as well. I do want to, as we kind of wrap things up, and we've got a minute and a half left in our segment, talk to us a little bit about what it is you're doing. What is your schedule? Where do you speak, and how can people find out more about you, about your books? Give us a little avenue to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm traveling and speaking. I go to Dallas next week, so I'm kind of all over the place. So you can find all of that at rachelcruze.com. I do a show every other week on YouTube and Facebook, and I also have a podcast that comes out every other week. Sometimes I'll drop an episode in weekly as well. And yeah, books and everything is where Amazon or wherever books are sold, or rachelcruze.com. And I'm on all social media, so you can follow me there. I keep track of everything I'm doing there as well.
Well, if you ever make it into Central Arkansas, we've got a studio set right here that has an extra chair, and we would love to have you join us for an entire Get Ready for the Future show.
I would love that. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for having me, and happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there and families out there. Just being intentional. It's always my advice. Just do it on purpose. Teach your kids how to handle money and do it on purpose.
Rachel Cruze, our guest today on the Get Ready for the Future show on this special Mother's Day edition. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.